You know something I've thought about quite a lot recently. Strange when you really think about it. Spent years growing up surrounded by people teaching us things. School teaches us mathematics, history, languages, science. We learn how to pass exams, how to follow rules, how to build careers, how to work, how to become productive members of society. And yet somehow, but it really teaches us how to take care of ourselves. And I mean properly. Nobody sits us down when we're young and says, listen, your health is going to affect absolutely everything in your life. Your energy, your mood, your confidence, and your future. Nobody teaches children what years of poor food can eventually do to the body. Nobody explains how movement isn't optional. How sleep quietly controls so much more than we realize. How stress, if ignored long enough, can slowly begin changing everything. I sometimes wonder how different life might look if somebody had taught these things earlier. Because maybe a lot of people aren't lazy. Maybe a lot of people aren't failing. Maybe they simply never learned how important these things really are. Maybe that's where the problem begins. It's not with bad choices, but with missing knowledge. Because if nobody teaches you how life is supposed to feel, how do you know something is wrong when you slowly start feeling well? Now, sometimes I wonder if modern life has slowly convinced us to live in ways our bodies were never really designed for. Think about it. Most people wake up tired, sit down for work, drive everywhere, spend hours staring at screens, move very little, eat convenience food because life feels busy, then repeat the exact same thing tomorrow. Somehow this has become normal. But I don't think normal always means healthy. I think somewhere along the way, we forgot how human beings are naturally supposed to live. See, for thousands of years, people moved constantly. They were walking, working physically, outside, eating real food, because that was all there was. And now, we live in a world where movement feels optional. Sunlight becomes rare. Stress has become permanent. And convenience has replaced effort. I think people feel terrible without fully understanding why. Because sometimes the problem, it isn't us. Sometimes we're trying to function inside a lifestyle that quietly works against everything our body actually needs. The scary thing is, because everyone around us lives the same way. So we stop questioning whether any of this is normal at all. I think one of the strangest things about modern life is how disconnected we've become from food. I don't mean dieting or calories or weight loss. I mean actual food, real food. Because if you really think about it, most people today eat things our grandparents probably wouldn't even recognize. Bright packaging, long ingredients lists, artificial flavors, preservatives, and sugar hidden in almost everything. And somehow we've accepted this as normal. And I find that fascinating. Because food is literally the thing we build ourselves from. Every cell, every organ, every system in the body depends on what we repeatedly give it. Yet we live in a world where convenience has completely replaced quality. The fast food, the processed food, the ultra-processed snacks, the energy drinks, the constant sugar. Sometimes wonder if people truly understood what years of that does internally. Would they still make the same choices? It's not because everyone should become obsessive, but because I think people deserve honesty. And unfortunately, I'm not sure honesty has been part of the conversation for a very long time. I think discipline gets misunderstood a lot. People hear the word, they immediately think restriction, hard work, giving things up, suffering. But honestly, I've started seeing discipline completely different. I think discipline is freedom. And I know that sounds backwards, but think about it. What happens when we have no discipline? We eat whatever we feel like, sleep badly, we move less. We avoid difficult things. We put off change, and over time, life slowly starts controlling us. Low energy controls us. Poor health controls us. Bad habits control us. But discipline changes that. It's not because life suddenly becomes easy, but because you slowly start regaining control over yourself. The strange thing is, most healthy habits really aren't complicated. Walking every day isn't complicated. Sleeping properly isn't complicated. Cooking simple, real food isn't complicated. The difficult part isn't understanding what to do. It's consistency. And I think maybe people have been taught to fear discipline, when actually discipline might be the very thing that gives people the freedom back. I think social media has created a strange kind of pressure. Most people don't even realize how much it affects them. Scroll for 5 minutes and suddenly you're comparing yourself to hundreds of strangers with the perfect bodies, perfect lifestyles, perfect relationships, perfect success stories. And I think this creates a dangerous mindset because people begin believing change has to happen quickly. Start thinking, why don't I look like that? Why am I not making faster progress? Why does everyone else seem ahead of me? Real life doesn't work like social media. Real life is slower, it's messier, and it's less exciting. Because real change takes time, sometimes months, and sometimes years. I think one of the biggest mistakes people make is quitting too early. It's not because the process failed, but because they expected progress to happen faster. And maybe, instead of comparing ourselves to strangers online, we should focus on becoming slightly better than the person we were 6 months ago. Maybe that's enough. Maybe progress doesn't need to look impressive. Maybe it simply needs to keep moving forward.
No one is coming to save you.
I think one of the hardest truths in life is realizing that eventually responsibility becomes ours. I don't mean that negatively. I mean honestly. At some point, we stop being children. Life stops adjusting itself around us. Nobody's coming to force us to become healthier. Nobody's going to make us exercise. And nobody is going to fix years of bad habits for us. Nobody can build discipline on our behalf. And maybe that sounds harsh, but actually, I think it's empowering. Because if responsibility belongs to us, so does change. I think people often underestimate how powerful small decisions really are. One walk, one better meal, one earlier night, 1 week of consistency, 1 month of small effort repeated over time. Doesn't look dramatic. But life rarely changes dramatically, changes quietly. Exactly the same way poor habits slowly damage us, good habits slowly rebuild us. Maybe the biggest lesson I've learned in this: nobody's coming to save you. But it isn't bad news, because it means the power was yours all along. Maybe the beautiful part is, don't need perfection, don't need extreme diets, you don't need to become somebody else. Simply need to begin. Maybe years from now, you'll look back at the life you're living and realize everything changed because one day you finally decided to take responsibility for yourself.